Hey, what's up guys? My name is Josh and I have 3 mod mics that were sent to me by Modmic. I'm going to be testing all of them, telling you my opinions on them. So we had the Modmic Uni, which is going to be basically the standard typical mod mic with a 3.5mm connection. It basically only has one pickup pattern and a mute switch, pretty typical. Then you have the Modmic USB, which is, you know, basically the same thing, but with USB instead of 3.5mm. And then they're newer-ish. It's not brand new right now, but it's their latest edition, which is the Modmic Wireless. And I've been actually using these for a couple of weeks now, and so they're no longer in their boxes. So I want to talk about all of these, some of the features that they have, some of the upsides, some of the downsides, and then we'll get to the sound quality test where you'll be able to hear for yourself which one sounds best to you. So as far as what this system is, it's actually pretty simple. You can take any headphone you want and turn it into essentially a gaming headphone or a headphone that you can also use for communication. So for example, I have HD800Ss, which are much more of an audiophile headphone. They're not marketed or sold as a gaming headphone, although they are pretty incredible for that, to be honest. So I wanted to modify it to be a gaming headphone. The basic way you do that is there's this magnetic / adhesive that clips onto the side of the headphone, just like this. And then the mod mic itself will clip onto the headphone, and then you have your gaming headset. Now, the benefit of these clips is that all of these mod mics can be basically hot swapped between different headphones. So I have a clip on the HD6XXs and the 800Ss and a couple of other headphones, and I can just take the same mic and just take it from one and put it on the other, and then call it a day. So in terms of build and features, these are all fairly simple. The wireless one probably being the most complicated. This does have 2 pickup patterns as well as the USB version, but not the 3.5mm version. They all have mute buttons, and this one just turns red for mute and then unmute. And then this one will turn yellow when it is low on battery. Now, the weird thing is, and I don't know how they would do this, but I wish there was some sort of auditory cue to let you know that you're running low on battery, because if this is on the side of your head, you're not going to be seeing that orange light. So you have no way of knowing that you're actually running out of battery. And unfortunately, I have had this die a couple of times on me in the middle of a Discord call or a gaming session. Now, despite the physical size of this, the battery life is not super impressive, and it clocks in around about 10 hours of talking time, which, you know, that'll get you a week's worth of gaming if you don't game too much, if you're not spending all day every day. But if you are spending a lot of time, it'll probably get you between 2 and 3 sessions. So I would recommend charging this just about every time you aren't using it, which is unfortunately a little bit inconvenient, but it's still more convenient when you're using it than the 2 wired versions. Okay, now speaking of the wired versions, you will notice that the Uni, which is the 3.5mm, is actually a little bit shorter of a stem than the USB. And it's also a little bit shorter of a stem than the wireless version is. So this one, the Uni, I've had the most trouble fitting for headphones where the actual mount for me is far away. Now, this is a slight problem for me because I'm using all 3. If you got one individually, it wouldn't be a big deal. But let me explain the issue that I'm having with all 3. So I'm using, where I placed the mount on the headphones was to fit the wireless version, simply because the actual mount for the wireless version doesn't move up and down the cable like the Uni and the USB do. So for these big bulky headphones, this cable isn't a problem because it's nice and long, and I placed the mount is such that it would work well for these. But when I go to a slightly shorter stem, it doesn't quite have the length. So this is just more of a problem specific to me. I would have placed this mount in a different area if I had just bought the Uni. Just be aware that this is a little bit shorter. So I would say a general rule of thumb, if you have really big headphones where your mount is going to be far away from your mouth, I would not get the Uni, or be very aware that it might be a potential issue for you. Okay, and then this is going to be an audio test of the wireless mod mic. And then I'm going to switch modes, and this should sound a little bit different. One of these sounds a little bit clearer. The other one sounds a little bit more compressed, but higher in terms of volume, and you don't have to increase it so much in post. And it also blocks out some of the background noise a little bit better in this louder mode. However, it is at the sacrifice of a little bit of clarity. Okay, and then this is going to be a test of the USB version of the mod mic, and then I'm going to switch over to the other side, and
Okay, there we go. And this is going to be the second version of the sound, which is looks like a little bit more on the clear side and the less compressed side, but not nearly as loud. Okay, and then this is going to be the Modmic Uni, which is going to be the 3.5 millimeter. Now, to keep everything fair, because the preamps in my PC are not that great, I am using the Modmic USB to 3.5 millimeter adapter. So this should be ideally probably the best that it can possibly sound. This does not have 2 modes, but it does have a mute switch. Bet you're wondering what I said there. And yeah, it sounds okay.
So I'll obviously leave your opinions up to you on which one you like the most. However, I will say my opinion is the wireless is the clear winner. I think it sounds the clearest. It's also partially the most convenient and the most inconvenient. If you have a standard setup where you can tether the cable together with your existing headphone cable, it is going to be something where the convenience factor of having like a set that you go to all the time, you don't really need the wireless for that. And I would say that the charging aspect of the wireless version is probably going to be more of an inconvenience than is worth for a typical headphone. However, the second that you add a secondary headphone, you're going to have to be dealing with 2 cables all the time. For me, I just don't like that much. I would rather deal with the charging aspect of it. And on top of that, I think that they put their best foot forward in terms of sound quality, and I do think that this one sounds best. Now, if you don't want to put out the cash for this, I do recommend going with the USB and not the 3.5 millimeter. Unless you're running something like a MacBook, which only has USB-C, which this is not USB-C, it's just typical USB. So if you are going to go wired, the USB over the 3.5 millimeter, I think it sounds better. It's got a longer stem, so it'll fit with more heads and more headphones. And it's got the 2 different sound modes, which you may want depending on your circumstances. Okay, guys, that's going to be my recommendations, but of course, I'll leave links to everything in the description down below, and any of them are great and they all seem to work really well. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next video, my name's Josh, signing off.